All right. So, hey guys, Matt. Today we have Mr. Matthew Ledesma with us, and we're going to be talking about some stuff that I know we're both very excited to talk about. It's really cool. So, how you doing?
Good. First of all, thank you for having me on here. It's cool to express this crazy journey that I went on.
Yeah. Well, I mean, to start, I know you have a couple notes just about yourself, so let's, go through it. Introduce yourself to people who don't know you.
Yeah, for those that don't know me, I should take place maybe about 5 years ago. I used to work in corporate America. Worked for corporate America for 8 years. Worked for a shipping supplies company. Made good money. Had the benefits. Had the works. It was cool. Got me. I invested into a home, so it got me the things that I needed. But in a way, it takes your soul away from you. And that was the one thing I noticed is like each year I got sadder, a little bit more depressed. Like, what am I gonna do? I gotta get the hell out of here. And then about 4 years ago, I made the leap. I was like, fuck it. I could cuss, right? Yeah. I was like, fuck it.
We prefer it.
I'm gonna leave. And I was like, I gotta do what I really enjoy doing. And that's, the fitness, the health industry. Got back to the books. I got a personal training cert, my yoga cert, strength and conditioning. And I went into the realm. I started teaching yoga because I had to give back in a sense to yoga because yoga's given me so much in my life. I was very imbalanced at that time, big time party guy, and a lot of drinking. It was all bad, and yoga kind of got me out of that. So it was very balanced. And once I started doing yoga, I felt like I had to share it, and that's why I became a yoga instructor. So the last 4 years, I've been teaching yoga, personal training. Started coaching high school wrestling at Chino High School under Alex Angulo. You're familiar with Alex Angulo?
Yeah, no,
great man, very smart. I learned a lot from this dude. I'm very, it's a pleasure to coach under him. So the last 4 years, I've been doing what I love to do, but there was still like, what should I say, like a hole or something missing. I wasn't fully happy. And during these times, I would vacation. That's, what people say, I go on vacation. And I traveled to Canada, different parts of Mexico, different parts of the US, went to Alaska. And every time I traveled, I realized this is where I'm happy. Like just meeting new people, different cultures, just different things. And I was like, okay, can I make money while traveling? That was like my thing. Okay, this is what's really making me happy. And then about a year ago, I started looking into the van life. And then that's kind of probably why we're here. To talk about the van life.
Yeah.
And that's it kind of like I needed to push more of the traveling and find the balance of doing what I love, but also get out there and explore.
Yeah. I want to get back to, because I remember when you were working for that company. I don't know if you want to say it or not.
I don't want to mention the evil company.
So I remember back then when you were working for that company and, you being pretty unhappy and wanting to make the jump. And I'm just wondering what it was that made you realize, like, did you watch something? Did you see a documentary? What made you realize that working that 5 days a week job, that blue collar thing, like it just wasn't for you?
Man, it wasn't no like specific documentary or anything. At that time, towards the end of my working at that job, I was going through a consciousness shift. It sounds cliche, but I was. And I reintroduced marijuana back into my life. I have tried mushrooms. I did a lot of meditating, a lot of things. And when you kind of hone into yourself, you kind of see the bigger picture. And I think that's what it was. The more and more I started focusing on myself, the more and more I realized, this isn't for me. And I think you have to find that within. Documentaries and podcasts and things help most definitely because they might plant that seed. But then you have to go deeper, I think, within to really understand, like, okay, this isn't it.
Yeah.
And I think that's what really helped me to push. And it was hard. And probably the biggest theory to leave something like that is fear. And that's everybody's fear. Like, am I just going to quit this job because I'm not going to have no money? And at that time, I had a mortgage, I had bills, I have all these things that, okay, if I leave this, I'm kind of screwed if I don't have this money. And that was kind of the one thing, okay, I don't really want to take the leap because I need money, but you have to be uncomfortable. And it was rough. When I left, I was broke for like a good 6 months.
Did you get laid off?
I did.
It's funny. So it's funny because I remember you wanting to do it.
Yeah.
And then that happened, and it's kind of the similar thing. When I was telling you, it was like I think it's going to be a good thing. What I mean? Like in the long run, I think you're going to end up being really happy. And I remember you being really happy about it. When it happened, you were like, dude, I got laid off.
Yeah.
And you were like fucking pumped on it, dude.
Because I was pumped because for a year I was trying to get laid off.
Yeah.
And because at that time that company was giving out severances. So when I saw those big severance packages, I was like, oh, instead of quitting, I might get some some money. They ended up not giving me the severance. I think they knew what I was trying to do,
Yeah.
so I never got that severance. So. You're like, I think we know what you're doing over there.
It's a good plan, though.
Yeah, I tried it. It didn't really quite work, but it did get me out the door.
Yeah.
And it was getting out the door.
Sometimes it's just that leap.
It
right?
is, and it is fearful, and it was hard the first 6 months, almost a year, like not working. And I mean, I did work. Another thing I love to do is building things. Like I was a handyman. I worked for a cousin that has their own property management, so I was like a handyman doing that, which I love. Like I love building things and working on things. I always had projects at my house, whether it was patio building, whatever it was, I was always working, and I really enjoyed that. So right after I left that company, or I got laid off of that company, I kind of jumped in the handyman world as I was getting my certs, because unfortunately in this world, you gotta have your name on a piece of paper. You
Yeah.
can have all the skills and all the knowledge and all the wisdom in the world, but if you don't have a name on a piece of paper saying you're certified, you're not gonna get a job. So during that time, I was getting those certifications.
That's cool. What kind of handy work are you doing?
Anything
Just
from my cousin worked a property management company that involved just renting out places. So if they needed new paint, new wall trimmings, light fixtures, small plumbing, little electrical, just handyman type stuff around the house.
Yeah, it was really cool to watch you go through that, because you went from doing the one thing that you really didn't like most of your life to having the free time to do all these things that you did want to do. I remember you started getting into welding. You got your certs that you were getting. You started having like teaching classes here. You started being a wrestling coach. You started doing all these things, and it was just really cool. It was really cool for me as your friend to like watch you go through all those things and see how much happier it made you in the end. And like when I asked if you had seen like anything that made you do that, because I know it's like you said, you gotta find those things within. But every now and then, when you hear these podcasts and you watch documentaries, they just give you those ideas, and you think like, wow, maybe I would like that, and you gotta kind of search within and figure out if you're gonna like it or not.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, I mean, it did make me a lot happier. I'm a much happier person because it kind of led me to where I am today, and I'm still on this crazy journey. I'm still learning and evolving. But yeah, there was struggles. When you don't have a paycheck coming in, you're like, fuck, how am I gonna eat tonight, or when am I gonna do this? Like, it was struggles. But then again, I think those struggles, you learn along those, and it makes you appreciate certain things, and you grow as an individual because of those struggles. I think they're so important, to go through those. Because and for me, it motivated me. Like, hey, I gotta eat, I gotta work, I gotta hustle, I gotta do this, I gotta do this. So it pushed me more to keep grinding. Yeah,
and it's like, it's nice, but it's not nice. Like you have nobody. You have nobody to lean on, so you have to do these things, right? It's like that motivation. It's like there's no more motivation than like failing. Like you're not gonna eat. Like nobody's gonna help you. Nobody's gonna come and get you out of it. But it's cool that everything that you did within those certs kind of like led you to this van thing. It's like you started building shit, and you started doing all these things, and you started getting away from the corporate world, and it just led you to this. And I mean, that's why we're here, so let's talk about that.
Van life, So it started about a year ago. And that's mostly just me seeing on Instagram, the hashtag van life, and just see people doing it. And I already had the idea of traveling. Okay, I gotta travel, but traveling's expensive. You fly somewhere, and it could be pricey. So I started looking into the van life, and like you said, I was being a handyman, not knowing I was building for something else, but I was learning all these cool skills, which is very cool. And I shadowed plumbers, I shadowed electricians, and it was very, very helpful. So when I did come to the realization, okay, I want to do the van life. And probably the most important aspect of this is my girlfriend. If it wasn't for her, like none of this would have been possible. So me and my girlfriend have been together for a year, but we were like best friends for a year and a half. So it sounds again cliche, like, be with your best friend, but I think it's so fucking important to do so. So once we started dating, I threw her the idea. I'm like, hey man, what do you think about this van life? And she's like, I'm in. And that's all I needed to hear. I'm like, let's fucking do this. Awesome. And so for a year, it was mostly research. I just didn't jump in it right away. I did a lot of YouTube, a lot of reading, just learning as much different styles and techniques and different designs, different models of vans. I try to absorb as much information. I have books at home, just notes and just writing things down. So I didn't jump in it right away building. I kind of did my research, did my study, and then once I knew what I wanted to do, cool. Then we ended up getting the van. There's 3 major vans you see on the road. You see your Mercedes Sprinter, your Dodge ProMaster, and your Ford Transit. The cheaper way to go, you go your Chevy Expresses. or even those Dodge Caravans, like minivans. You can even go that route, a little bit smaller. We always wanted the Sprinter. That's the ideal. You get the Sprinter, you're the king of the crop. You know? But the Sprinters, you're paying for that Mercedes emblem. You know, it's like, so we were looking at Dodge ProMasters in the very beginning because they just seemed more affordable. We came across a guy that's like a dealer with nothing but Sprinters. So we ended up buying a used one that worked for AutoClore. It's a dishwashing service. It's a company. That's what it used for majority of the time. So we bought it used. It was all beat up on the inside, which is okay because I was gonna remodel.
You're gonna tear it all out, right? You're gonna gut it.
So we ended up getting. Ours is weird. Ours is a 2006 Dodge Sprinter. So ours is actually 3 different models. It's the chassis is a Freightliner, which is like the big diesel trucks, and then our body on the outside is a Dodge, but everything else is Mercedes. So like if you have issues with that van, they're gonna look at it like, well, what part do I need? You have like 3 different models in here, so that's kind of got tricky along the way. But yeah.
How much did you end up getting it for?
We got the van for $11,000. Yeah, which is a good deal for a Sprinter. Yeah, it's a good deal. So the thing is, I always suggest try to an auction. If you're on a budget, go on an auction. Find an auction, find someone with an auction license, or find someone that's an auction dealer where they're used and they resell them. And there's a lot of vans out there that are like that because there were ex-businesses or whatever it may be. So they're out there and you can find them cheap. And again, we took a year to really take our time to like find that right one. Because the van is the key. Everything else is the bill. But you got to make sure that motor's running well because, you know, we drove over 8,000 miles. So it's like you got to have a sturdy engine. But yeah, it was cheap, the $11,000 for the van itself.
That's not bad. That's not bad. And then the whole build out process, like how much did it cost and how long did that take you?
So it cost about total everything, I would say about $21,000. Everything out the door. That's including the van. Everything out the door. It took me 3 months. It was almost priorly me by myself building the van. My girlfriend did help. We did have, she helped sewing and doing some things around the bedding and stuff. But for the most part, I did most of the build. It took me 3 months. Now, that was a fast build because we were on a time frame. We had to be out the door by the end of May. So we had to get this done. So I had to get it done in 3 months. Looking back on it now, I want 6 months or like 7 months to take my time on the build. So it took about 3 months, about $21,000 total for the van itself. Yeah. And then I'm running 300 watts solar on the top. I'm running with a 3,000 watt inverter for my AC. So when you run these, you can run 2 different electrical powers. You can run AC alternating current and DC direct current. Alternating current is gonna be like your regular outlet plug-in. So for us, we use the refrigerator, the stove, the oven, the TV, the DVD player, and our signal booster for our cell phones. That was all AC. Now DC uses much less electricity. This is what I learned along the road. And I was like, you want to go mostly DC. Yeah. For our van, we use DC, the lights, the water pump, like USB connections and cigarette outlets, and what else? That's it. That's what we run DC. So during this build, you realize what you don't need and what you do need on the build. It was a huge learning experience, and that's what I took this van as.
That's cool. And you said you had some solar on there too, right?
Like, solar. Yeah. And that's another tricky thing. So solar, I only had 3 months. So 100% our power is dependent on solar. Now we had 255 amp battery. So put together was 310, which is enough juice to last you a full day, a full week if you're just running DC. Without no charge. Now, our charge was 100% dependent on solar. So now there's different ways you could do it. You could use solar, you could do where you could plug it into an outlet and you could charge your batteries, or you could connect it to the engine itself, to the alternator, and the alternator will charge it. See, I didn't have time to do those other ones, so we were dependent on solar. So like in the state of Washington, it got tricky when all it does is rain. So it's like, okay, I can't just depend 100% solar. But solar is very nice. It's the future, no doubt.
How did you do a workaround? Did you when you were in Washington, being strictly on solar?
We would have to. It was tricky. Sometimes we'd eat out, or we'll buy things to make like sandwiches or things where we didn't have to cook. Okay. So yeah, but there's other ways. We had a full running kitchen, so we had everything we need. Or we'll try to find a grill. You know, like we'll go barbecue. So that was another alternative. Yeah. We could barbecue.
Yeah, that's cool. So I want to more or less talk about like I'm interested in all like how the van runs and stuff, but I really want to talk about like the mindset of really just cutting the ties with everything, like completely cutting all those tethers and just taking off, you know, like not knowing that you're not going to have a job, like saving for this and then just completely boom, just making that leap.
Yeah, and that's fear, you know, that's fear. Like, okay, I got to let go. We're going to just live on the road for 3.5 months. One of the things, this is definitely not the first trip. Me and my girlfriend are going to do mini trips and kind of open many doors. And we'll get into that. But yeah, it was that fear to initially go. Now, next time, I think we'll find work along the road. I think that's very useful, and we met several people in the van community that does that.
Okay.
Yeah, so there's a lot of people, and there's apps, there's websites, there's so many things you could do where you could work for a free stay, or you could work for the different things. We did it in the very beginning of the trip. Our very first stop was in Monterey, California, and we worked Cali Roots, which is a really big reggae festival. We were a bartender for 3 days, and it made good money. You make about $1,200, $1,500. So that was a good portion of the trip right there, you know.
Yeah.
So total spending, under $2,500 for 3.5 months.
Wow.
Yeah, because I have no mortgage, I have no electricity bill. I mean, the only bills I had at the time was one credit card and a cell phone. You know, and the car insurance, the van insurance. We paid the van. Yeah, gas. Yeah. So you just got to figure out, you know, your expenses. But yeah, the biggest fear was just to get it going. Now, you know, people promise you that you're gonna have a job when you get back. That's not always the case. I never, depended on that. I always knew I was gonna come back to Chino High School though. That's, I love coaching high school kids, having an impact on kids, and working with Alex and Gu is a true blessing. So I knew I had that to come back to, but I knew, other than that, I knew nothing else. I did have a house in Chino that I ended up selling. So I knew I had something with that, and I wanted to invest it later in something else. But I knew I was going to come back to no home, no job, no nothing. So it was like, okay, this is a leap here,
Yeah.
But I knew I was going to be on the road for 3.5 months where I'm going to be able to meditate and think and kind of like have a good game plan. So I always depended on that and just trust. You just got to trust the process. You just got to fuck it. You just got to go. You just got to trust the process. And I did, and totally paid off towards the end.
But I think it's worth noting that you got to stay attentive to the process too, because I think a lot of times people think like, oh, just trust everything's going to work out, and they kind of completely, like, they don't even think about it, right? They think that something's just gonna waltz into their lap and everything's gonna be okay.
Yeah.
But you got to ponder on it, right? You got to meditate on it, and you got to think about it, and you got to come up with your own game plan for what you're gonna do.
And you got to put action to it. You got to hustle. You got to grind. You got to work at it. You can't be like, oh, I'm just gonna trust it. No, motherfucker, it doesn't work that way. You still got to work. You got to grind. Cool, you have a vision, but you got to work your ass off to get that vision going. People get it twisted. I know what you mean.
And it becomes really hard. I'm sure. You understand that. Like you kind of make your own work schedule, and it's kind of hard when you don't have something that's like, hey, if you don't get here on time, you're going to lose your job. Like you can be like, well, I don't need to do that right now, and it's really hard. You got to really hold yourself accountable, and in a way, it's like it's tougher. You know what I mean? It's like, but it should be, because it's a happier way of life.
Right.
So, there's going to be some sort of negative and downfall with it, like some setback.
And you just got to make that leap too, because what this is the human experience, And at the end of the day, whatever you may believe in, like, how was your human experience? Do you want to say, I worked at a shitty job and I got fat and I ended up dying because of diabetes,
Yeah.
It's like, you just got to go. So at the end of the day, like, my human experience is badass. I saw a majority of the world, I met all kinds of fucking cool people, and like, so I always had that in the back, like, you just got to go,
Yeah.
You got to trust.
Yeah.
So, and again, my girlfriend was very helpful throughout this. It would have been a lot harder, I think, alone. When you have a partner, when it's just you in the van, and then no one else.
Yeah.
It's nice to have that companion by your side.
And it's really special to find someone that is also willing to do this.
Yes.
It's really, in our society, it's hard to leave society. It's hard to find somebody else who's down to do it. Like, even if I was alone, I don't think I don't think it's something that I would probably ever do. I would always want to do it, but I don't know that I have that in me. No.
Yeah. And especially in a relationship, it's gonna make it or break it too, because you're in a tight space. It's just you two. The only privacy we had is when we went to the bathrooms. Like, that was the only time we weren't alone. So it's like, make it or break it. Like, okay, is this gonna work? Being in this tight space.
Yeah.
And for us, it worked out great. I actually feel like we got so much closer because of it. We're building things because of it now. So for us, it worked out immensely. Yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense. It seems like it's something that you would like. It's kind of like, let's find out. Like,
Yeah.
I like you, but let's find out.
Yeah,
Like,
and if you have any questions about that chick, you're like, I don't know, like, don't do it, you know, because you're stuck in the road.
if I would have been like, Matt, you're like, hey, dude, you came back in like June. What happened? Like,
Exactly.
Yeah, it didn't fucking work out.
It didn't work out. Exactly.
Do you have any main things that you want to tell us about the trip? Because I really am interested in hearing about the trip and the things that you've seen.
Yeah, so what we did 9 states, 8 national parks, and 2 countries. We went into Canada for a bit. Went over 20 plus, I would say, yoga studios, because me and my girlfriend are both yoga instructors, so we wanted to network. We wanted to just see different styles of yoga and different, where they're at in people's practices. So we went to a lot of yoga studios, countless breweries, restaurants. So the way we try to do it was, we'll try to go to a national park for a week, and then the weekend we'll go to a city. So we'll kind of bounce it like woods, nature, have a good time in the city, regroup, woods, nature. So we try to do it in that way. And we really didn't plan this trip. We had 2 obligations. We had a wedding to go to in Canada. It was my girlfriend's best friend's wedding. And we had reservations at Zion National Park. Other than that, we had no other plans. And we kind of had an idea where we wanted to go. And then we kind of feel like, well, if we find a cool place, we're gonna hang out here for a bit, and take our time and relax. So we did a lot of zigzagging, because we wanted to see cool different things, but good and bad. I think next time we'll plan a little bit more, but it's good to be spontaneous, because it's like, it's an adventure. It's way more of an adventure. But then you have to worry about, well, we're gonna stay the night tonight. So there's goods and bads of that way of doing it. But yeah, there's so many different ways of doing it. So the way we stay the night, so out of the 3.5 months, we only paid for less than 10 campgrounds. Like, we didn't spend a lot of money on night stay because we've invested all this money into a van. That's what the whole idea of the van life is. So being like hidden, like we had to learn that from the get-go. And let me start from the day one. Day one was a fucking disaster. So day one, so we literally rushed out of Chino. The van wasn't 100% being done built either. So like I was still working on the bed. So the way ours is, we have a bench on one side, a single chair, and then like a TV center right here. All of it should fold out into a queen size bed. So it wasn't working when we left like that. Yeah, so there were some things that were just not done because I only had 3 months and my house was in escrow. Like all these things were happening. So I was like, I gotta get out of here. So I took the necessary tools that I needed with me and then the parts and I finished it on the road. So day one, we literally rushed it out. We were supposed to be at the bartenders meeting at Cali Roots. We missed that. So we get there late and then the people at the festival are like, oh, we can't get you in the campground tonight. You're gonna have to park right here on the street. And then me and my girlfriend are like, yeah, van life, this is what we're doing. Yeah, like, yeah, we're totally gonna do this. So we stay on the street. And again, we have things on the floor, like our oven's on the floor. Like we have things on the floor because everything's not bolted. I'm still not done with it. So about 2 a.m., we get a pounding on the door. Boom, 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 boom. I was like, oh shit. And then I get up making all kinds of noise. My girlfriend falls off the couch because she's all disvoluted. And we're making a lot of noise. What we learn later on, you stay quiet, you stay low key. I mean, people knock on the doors. You learn the tricks of the road. So we're making all kinds of load.
Why do you be quiet?
Because you might not be in an area you're supposed to be. So it might look like a parked car or it might look like someone's living in there. We would rather be known as a parked car and we're somewhere else. Oh, okay. Yeah. So I get up and it's the cops. Hey man, you can't stay here. There's a city law in Monterey, no overnight parking. So Monterey has a bad homeless problem, and the homeless there, they're not on the streets. They're like in old beat up RVs with like tarps on it. They don't look like travelers. They look like a homeless person that found an RV. So it's a huge problem in Monterey. So I kind of get it. They're like, you got to get out of here. So all right. So we start up the van at 2 a.m. and he tells us where we could go. We go there. We couldn't find any area, so we park on the street again. About 5 a.m. Boom, 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 boom. Again, we're like, what the fuck? And this time it was just some resident. Like, hey man, you got to get out of here. We're like, fuck, all right. And the way we parked, we were like underneath the hill, so there's a big hill. First time I ever owned a diesel. So I never owned a diesel before. So I started the car and I just try to go. And the van is not moving. It does not want to work. And we're like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, we got kicked out twice. The van's broken. Like, this is day one of 3.5 months. I was like,
Van life.
yeah, van life. Now it's like, this shit kind of sucks now. When I realized diesel cars, you need to let them warm up. You gotta warm up for 5-10 minutes at a time, and then it gets going. Learn that on. Yeah, so the first day was just a disaster. And we're like, damn, what do we get ourselves? Like, then I started questioning it, like, fuck, was this a good idea? Was this a bad idea? Like, I might have screwed up, you know? And then I brought my girlfriend involved in this. It's like, oh no, you know? So the first night was a disaster. That was the only time we ever got a knock on the door. That was the only time we ever got harassed or bothered. So it was literally that one.
Everything, and
night.
you learned everything.
Yeah. So we learned it along the way. That first month was a huge learning experience, and you meet some amazing people on the road. Like, you meet so many awesome and beautiful people, and everyone's very, you know, helpful. And being the van life, you're almost immediately into this community of people, the van life people, and you see them everywhere. That's like the most popular way I say of traveling on the road right now is the van life. So like, if we're at a grocery store and we see 2 more vans, it's immediately, hey, how you doing? I'm coming over. Okay, I'm coming over too. It's like immediately you're good friends. Yeah. So then you know you give the tour of your van, you go to their van, and then it's like it's cool. You have a beer with them in the parking lot because that's where your homes are. So
Want to come over to my house?
Yeah, you want to come over?
Awesome.
Like, we're gonna cook dinner.
Why don't you just put your house right next to my house?
Yeah, there's times it was like that. You know, like in Yosemite, we met some van people and we camped out with them, and it was a cool time. Yeah.
That's cool.
That's fucking cool.
What were some surprises that other than the first night? Like, what were some things that you were like, no research, nothing that I looked up or heard of prepared me for this?
The huge homeless problem we have in this country. Holy shit. Like, I knew we have homeless people, but it's bad and it's everywhere. I think the only place we didn't see homeless was in Montana, simply because it gets -40 during the winter. You'll just die out there. So you didn't see too many. You might have saw like 1 or 2, but for the most part, yeah, homeless everywhere. And the thing that I didn't know about, and is something I had to learn on the road, was different cities in this country don't take care of their problem. They just push it out the way, like almost like pushing, sweeping it under the rug. Yeah. So like, we met a couple that was from Chicago, and what they do in Chicago is they buy bus tickets and they send them to Seattle. And then Seattle sends them to Portland. Portland sends them to LA. LA sends them back up north. Oh, wow. So it's literally just this circle of people moving homeless around. So there's no solutions. No one's fixing the problem. They're just trying to brush it under the rug. Yeah. And I would say 75-80% of them are mentally ill. Like there's a legit chemical imbalance with them. They need help. You know, they just simply need help. And then you get the some that are like just got the shit into the stick. You know, like life hit them hard, and now they're on the street. You know, so I was not really expecting the amount of homeless that we encountered.
Like, meet any of them? Talk to any of them?
Yeah, this trip not so much. Actually, my girlfriend had probably the closest encounter. She almost got in a fight with one. Wow. and if you know Antoinette, she's like the most kindest, nicest, gentlest soul in the world, and she almost got in a fight. So we were in Portland. Portland, hands down, the worst homeless, hands down. And some homeless lady, I didn't accident or bumped into my girlfriend and wouldn't let up. What's up, bitch? Like going at it. And we just ordered food from like a stand. So like, okay, we're stuck here, you know? Yeah. And then the person at the taco guy was like, oh, don't, just ignore her. Like, she's a crazy person. Like, he was familiar with that person. So it was like over and over. Like, you could tell there was something wrong with her. Like, she was mentally, I even told my girlfriend, like, I never hit a girl and I don't ever plan on hitting a girl. But if she comes at us, I'm doing a Spartan kick to the chest. Because I felt uncomfortable. I was like, okay, this is the like unsettled situation. And then bigger than shit, she bumped into another dude and she started harassing that guy and kind of left us alone. So yeah,
new target.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, and then we bounced. We're like, okay, time to go, let's go. You know, we ended up running out of there. But yeah, the homeless problem was a bad thing.
It's one of those bummers. There's a lot of that. I think individually we do that, and then you just see it extrapolated onto societal things. It's like, we don't solve things. We just push them off. We push them off for tomorrow. Push them off for the next day. Push them off for the next person, and then it's just there's no solution.
Yeah,
you know?
And it's sad. It's just really sad because again, a lot of them are mentally ill, you know, and then a lot of the mentally ills are doing drugs, and there are a lot of drugs being used. Yeah, it's just. Yeah, it's a clusterfuck. It's very unfortunate. Yellowstone was kind of a surprise to me. I felt like I was on a different planet in Yellowstone. So Yellowstone is our only live super volcano on planet Earth. And yeah, and it feels it when you're there. It's like a different planet. It really feels it. And kind of scared me, you know. Like one of the things I try to do is every time we go to a national park, there's always a visitor center with a ton of information that you can read and go watch movies or videos. So I'd always eat like an edible or something, kind of get me on edge and freak me out. And I'll go in there and just read all this stuff. So Yellowstone totally freaked me out because like if that thing erupts.
I wonder how many people are just straight like hi. Oh, you're sober. Interesting. Hi.
Yeah, what are you doing here?
Yeah. And it was funny because in Yellowstone, like you see kids running around all happy, and I'm just like bracing myself reading these things, like we're all gonna die. Like,
There's mountain lions out here, there's wolves.
yeah. So like when that thing erupts, it's gonna affect like 75% of America. Like they say it's gonna be so bad that California will get ash from it. Like we'll be covered in ash, like the grid's gonna get shut down for some time. Like it's gonna be a huge moment that might collapse America. Like it's something crazy.
Yeah, yeah. And they have no idea when it's gonna go off.
They have no idea. Kind of like the San Andreas fault. Like we're due for the earthquake.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
So I was like, this is cool.
Well, they're saying in some places that like when Pompeii and a few of the other volcanoes, like China could see the ash, like covering the sky. Was that big? This one's gonna be bigger than that.
Wow. So it was cool to see, but me and Anthony were like, all right, let's get the hell out of here. Everybody like, I don't want to be here when this thing erupts.
Cool, that was fun. Let's get out. I saw it.
I would rather not think about this right now.
Bye. Let's go do fun things. You mentioned about when people promise you're gonna have a job when you get back, and that's not always the case. So everything before you left, like, I mean, I know you had a bunch of separate gigs that you were doing. What were take us through all the gigs that you had when you left, what you left behind, and then what you came back to? Like, what did you have when you came back?
Oh man, well, like opportunities like this, being on a podcast, like it seems like I'm more interesting now to people. like I'm not saying I wasn't interesting, but it's like now that I have this thing, it's like people are like constantly, I'm getting DMs, like asking questions, like. So it brought up new opportunities in teaching yoga at different places, van building. People are very interested in like wanting to building vans. Yeah. I was telling Mike earlier, like I'm not super comfortable selling the product yet because this was a definite test run. I'm gonna do some mods on this van and then I'm gonna sell it and then I'm gonna buy another one for me and my girlfriend and I'm gonna build out another one and then I would like to help a friend build something. And then once I have 3 vans under my belt, I can see me doing a business in that way because it's just so popular now. I got into the Airbnb business, so then the money from the house I invested in something else and I'm just gonna Airbnb full time. So. And I wanted to go that route because then I'm always guaranteed to have an income and then I could really focus on maybe a new project for myself, whether it's vans or yoga or, so coaching wrestling is always going to be with me. I love doing it. But yeah, new opportunities. Again, I feel like I'm more interesting now.
Yeah. Well, I think it's, to me, I always like to see what you left behind because it's so scary, right? It's like a big thing to leave behind, and in the moment it can seem like a bad thing,
right.
But when it comes full circle, you get all these things here. Like, is there anything that you were hoping that you'd be able to come back to that you weren't able to come back to?
Let's see. One of the studios I was teaching at, I was hoping to come back to them, but I wasn't fully committed to that because I knew the past of that studio, so I wasn't like, okay, I'm guaranteed. But that was kind of something I was like, I want to go back to this. But again, like now I don't even think about it because like 3 or 4 other studios are interested in me because of this. It's like, and they're much more professional and there's a lot more logistics about things. So I'm like, okay, so like that. The one thing I was worried about, and actually like 4 more candidates. Now 3 other options exactly.
Yeah.
So.
What kind of yoga do you practice?
I teach like a vinyasa style. I personally like Ashtanga. Now that helped me a lot. I have a bulging disc in my neck. I got a bulging disc in my lower back, and I have arthritis in several different places.
Before yoga or after yoga?
Before yoga, before yoga. So I started getting into yoga, and Ashtanga really helped me out tremendously.
What's that one about?
It's a certain primary series that originated from Mysore, India, and it's probably one of the oldest styles of yoga out there. Yeah, it's very strict. It's a very strenuous type of yoga.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
it never changes. You're always gonna do the same flow regardless.
Okay.
There's no music. There's no nothing. It's the same shit. So like when I teach, I like to have music, and my flows are always different. It's always gonna be something unique and different.
this is the same shit. So it might get boring, but I didn't see it that way because my body was getting healed. So I was like, this is something I gotta do.
You're seeing benefits from it.
Absolutely.
It's kind of hard to question something that you're seeing those benefits.
Right.
And it's funny, I didn't know you had all that stuff, but it makes sense. Like, I know that I was excited to say this, but I know that when I met you, you were a fucking meathead.
Yeah.
As was I. I think I still probably am kind of a meathead. But
That's deep down there in all of us.
Yeah. It's just funny. It's really cool, and I tell you this all the time. It's just really cool to see your transformation from being the guy that you were in high school, or even in the early 20s, big. You were like 185 pounds to you now, and being one of my inspirations to grow my hair out. It seems like my inspirations all cut their fucking hair when I grew my hair out. But you had long hair. You lost a lot of weight. You became more functional as a human being, and just completely that polar opposite life of living. And I guess when we have that meathead mentality in the early 20s, you're chasing the wrong things, right?
Exactly.
You're trying to get money because you're trying to get women, and everything. And everything's because you're trying to get women.
It's always trying to get laid.
Go out drinking because you're trying to get women, right? And then
all the bad choices.
It just seems like you kind of realized that wasn't the way to go, and you started changing things, and it's just really cool just to see it come full circle.
And I'm still growing. I'm still evolving, And I did get, there was a point in time where I did get like super spiritual and I stopped talking to everybody. And I found a lot of stuff about myself, but I was also real boring. Like I lost my sense of humor and I didn't like that about me. So it's like finding that meathead and that like yogi. And you got to find the balance between the two. So it's like, you want to be a yogi, but you got to keep it real, And that's what I noticed in the yoga industry. There's a lot of people that are phonies and fakers. So it's like, you got to find that balance. You can't pretend who you are.
And you like, something when you get to that real spiritual, like sometimes when I see people going that real enlightened and awakening, and they go really heavy into it,
they're really hard to talk to.
And they isolate exactly. They isolate everybody, and it's something my wife had said, and I really liked what she says. Like they can't see past their own eyes, right? They're just seeing their problems. They're seeing how other people are affecting their energy and all this stuff, and they're just completely forgetting that other people have their own struggles, and people are going to feel a certain way because of how they're talking to them, and they shut that out, and then at the same point they don't want to be alone, but they don't realize that what they're doing is going to make them alone.
And that's 100% true, because I saw it through those eyes, and I'll be in a group of people and I'll just sit there and I'm just observing. Like I'm not part of the group, and then I'll like look at them differently, and I feel different.
You feel above it, right? Because you're like, well, I'm enlightened and I'm this, so I'm at this point I'm above it, and then at a certain point you realize that it's just it's different.
Well, it's finding that balance.
I think it's also it happens a lot in most tribal systems, right?
Yeah.
Like CrossFit, jiu-jitsu.
Oh yeah.
You get involved in this community and you start living in this community, and then anytime you try to talk to anybody outside of this community, you're like,
don't have as much.
There's no rational thinking. It's just the way it is. Fuck everybody else.
Exactly. It's interesting that it's from the tribal system that it makes you more alienated to other people.
Yeah, we're all just looking for something to latch on to make us special. It was something to make us different than everybody else. And it's another thing is I think we a lot of times focus so much on being different instead of just being better or being optimized. Like you just like, well, sometimes you go down a path that may not necessarily be a good one just because it's different than what other people are doing.
Right.
And most times when you think it's different, it's not different. Like you think you're being different when really you saw all these other people do it first, and you saw that like you're like, oh, I kind of like what they're doing, so I'm gonna do it. And it's never an innovative thing.
Yeah, it's like the Instagram model that puts the same quote that everybody else has. Stop! I know what you're doing.
So I mean, and it's a really cool thing. You're like one of my favorite stories to tell, and you're like one of anytime I'm able to tell somebody about you, I'm like, oh, you gotta meet him. You're gonna fucking I'm never wrong, man. Like you've always been a.
He did it with me. He was like, we need to talk.
You'll love it.
You'll love him.
Because you have having that meathead and having that super extreme spiritual thing, and then coming to it, you have something that you can relate to everybody. You can understand everybody, and you've always been like I was just thinking about on the way over here, you've always been like a positive in my life. It's always like anytime I see, it's never like, even if we go out drinking, like it's always like a really fulfilling night. Like it's not like we're not getting into fights, and it's not some bullshit like there's people, nobody's taking out coke and everything. It's a different type of night. And then you were one of the first ones that really helped me with my fighting career. You kind of were always there for my fighting career, helping me dialing my nutrition, my weight, conditioning. I would come over to your place and just work out with you in the backyard. Like it's always been cool stuff, and it's like I was there learning with you. You were kind of taking me along for
and that was
for
a process. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was a process. And I'm still trying to find that balance. You know, I'm still trying to find that balance. You know, it's still not over.
Yeah, and what's this? The running challenge you're doing right now? What is that?
So that was just my own personal challenge. If you guys haven't read it or heard it, Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins. So one of the cool things about this trip is I got the chance to read a lot, which I never had an opportunity because I was always moving from gym to studio to practice. I was always on the go. So I read about 7 to 8 books over the summer, and one of them was David Goggins, and it motivated me so much. So I was like, you know what, I'm gonna get back into running. It was just my personal challenge. I'm gonna run every single day for 31 days. And each week, I'm gonna increase the mileage, and I'm gonna increase the time. And it was just my personal thing, like, I'm gonna do this, because David Goggins is a badass, and I gotta do it now.
Yeah.
So that kind of started that, and then now I'm pretty consistent running. I'm gonna go back to weights starting next week, but like I feel different now from this trip. Like I'm way more motivated, I would say. I have a way more clear idea, because on this trip, it gave me and my girlfriend time to just think and just be. And I think now I look at traveling and vacations completely different. Like I used to go on vacations. You know, most people do that. They work a 9 to 5. I'm gonna save all year. I'm gonna save $1,500 so I can go 1 week to Cancun or Cabo, and everything's timed. Okay, we're gonna be here. We're gonna do water skiing. The next day we're gonna go to cliff diving. This day we're gonna do this. Everything's scheduled. Da, 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 da. Okay, and then we have to go back to reality. So this time, like people are like, "Oh, you're back from your vacation." I'm like, it wasn't a vacation. Like we were just traveling and living. So like, we would go somewhere and we'll just take our time with things. And we'll see everybody rushing because they're on vacation. So everyone's rushing to Disney while we're just taking our time. Like, what do you want to do today? Like, we'll do this today. Man, we'll do that tomorrow because we're going to be here for a week. And then we could... So it was nice to just have that freedom to just breathe and just be. Like, that was probably one of the best parts of the trip.
Yeah,
you know?
it's so much, that sounds like a fucking dream to me.
Yeah.
Like one of my, I don't like to travel with people that will make me, or go on vacations that will put me on an agenda.
Yeah.
Because when I go, because that's the last thing I want, is because my whole life is an agenda. Like I gotta be here, I gotta be here at this time, back here tomorrow at this time. So when I go on vacation, really all I want, I could be fucking anywhere. I don't care as long as I don't have an agenda.
Yeah.
That's the most important thing to me. I mean, it's huge.
And that's why we try to do it. Like we only had 2 things, a wedding and we had 1 reservations at a campground. Other than that, we were like, let's just take our time with it. Because there's a lot of the states I've already been to, but my girlfriend's never done. So like I kind of helped guide through where we're gonna go. I knew there's some cool spots. And then we learned a lot of cool spots just talking to people. So it says people like, oh, you need to go here. Oh, how long are you here for? Well, we can be here as long as we want. What do you suggest? It's like, all right, well, go do this, go do that.
Was that ever a struggle though? Because I know that sometimes I go on vacations and I get this feeling of like a hotel room. I'll get to the hotel room and I'm like, I kind of don't want to leave here. You know, like I just kind of want to chill there. Do you ever get that that comfortability of a spot where you're like, I kind of just want to stay here for a long time?
No, you know what? We never really had that. It always seemed like we were always kind of on the move or on the go, unless we were at a national park.
Yeah.
And then we're gonna stay there for a while. But yeah, I never had that feeling. I would say for sure though, the biggest struggles, and I'm surprised I didn't bring this up, bathrooms. So that was the biggest struggle.
Yeah.
So the way I built the van was I didn't build it with a bathroom. I did have running water for a sink, but no bathroom and no shower. So for me, not so bad. You know, I could piss in a Gatorade bottle. I could piss on the side of the road. My girlfriend, different story. So there was times where it was a struggle. Okay, so we would actually sometimes plan our day around the bathrooms. So it's like, all right, where can we go to a bathroom? You know, okay, cool. So most cities were good because we ended up getting a Planet Fitness pass. So Planet Fitness, if you're a traveler, if you're gonna do the van life, it's a fucking necessity.
There's a lot of them, huh?
Oh, they're everywhere. And then if you get the black card, it's me, and then I could bring a guest every time, and it's $20 a month. So then all of them have showers, all your stuff. So if we go into a city, we immediately find the Planet Fitness. Okay, there's there. Okay, now we know we have a shower and we have a bathroom. But yeah, sometimes we would go like, cool, let's go bar hopping. Okay, bathroom situation first. Because like, if we're gonna be drinking, we're gonna have to go pee. So it's like before you never think about that, you know? Like I'm gonna just go out. You never think about bathroom situations. So it's a much bigger appreciation towards bathrooms now. So it's like, oh, okay. So yeah, that was a big struggle.
It's something that's always a convenience, and and there's just one of those a necessity taken away, and you gotta fucking
and for me, like the way I always did intermittent fasting, and I still do it, but my meals be real late at night. So usually, first thing when I wake in the morning, I'm taking a shit. Yeah. So it's like, I always have like, okay, like can I make it from here to there to gotta go to the bathroom? So I had to like readjust my diet a little bit. Like you had to readjust just for the bathroom. We had to readjust a lot of things for the bathroom situation.
That's a good one too, because that's something that I think people might overlook going to do this. And for some people, I know like my wife included, like she has a really small bladder, right? So whenever we go, if we go on like an hour drive, she can't drink any water until we're like 15 minutes before we're going because she's gonna have to take a piss.
Yeah.
You know? So that's a really important thing that Gladys brought up.
We did bring and we bought like a porta potty, like it's a universal porta potty, but we never used it because we were always like, well, we gotta clean this shit up. Literally, we gotta clean this shit up. So it was like we never really wanted to do it.
Emergency.
Yeah, super. We still haven't used it, luckily. And then we saw something on the internet, and it's like a pee funnel for women. It's like the size of a vagina, and it fits there. And me and my girlfriend were laughing at it before we left, like, this stupid thing. And then like a month in, my girlfriend were like, we should have got it. We should have fucking got this.
Oh, that's something I just realized. Amazon's probably challenging, right? Like ordering something from Amazon because where are they going to deliver it for you?
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Well, they have lockers now.
Yeah, we have. So we did that. We ordered
okay.
some stuff on the road, and we did Amazon. So if we're in Portland, Oregon, but we know we're going to be in Seattle, Washington in 2 weeks, we'll make an order. We'll find a mailing box in Seattle, and we'll send it over there. So by the time we get there, it's waiting for us.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So
all right.
Yeah, they have those. Have you even seen those?
No.
They're pretty cool. Like you can like 7-Elevens have them and stuff, and it's like kind of wherever places had a red box, like they have the Amazon.
Amazon job.
Yeah. So they have, and it's kind of cool because you have like, because I know like sometimes you'll text me and be like, hey, can you pick up this package because we're not going to be home? Or I know we have the same thing because we're in a back house, and I know it's a problem of packages getting stolen around here. They're really cool. You can just deliver it to that locker and just go pick it up whenever you want.
Yeah.
Super cool.
I should do that. Stop texting you.
Oh no! I'm just saying no. It's just there's actually one at the Circle K right here. Like it's just a really cool thing that I think it's a cool thing. Amazon. A lot of people have their thoughts on Amazon. I know, but
I'm a big fan. I mean, majority of the build came from Amazon. You know, a lot of the
Oh.
solar, a lot of the things I bought. It was like Amazon and Home Depot. Those were like our two things that we purchased.
Yeah, you'll have to send us some of the stuff that you like got on there. That we can post it up on the thing, and that way if anybody's looking to do it, like they can learn a lot of that stuff too. And we're gonna do after this, we're gonna do like a little video tour of the van, so we'll post that up. That way people can see it and see what it looks like because we just saw it. The thing is beautiful, man.
Yeah, thanks, dude. Yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah. Really cool.
Yeah. Cost. Is it cheaper to live in a van or more expensive or same?
Cheaper, for sure cheaper. Well, it depends. If you have the money to just build the van, then you have no overhead. I mean, you have no mortgage. If you do solar, you have no electricity. You have none of that. So we met, back to the van life community, we met so many people, travelers to people doing it full time. Me and my girlfriend were just part-timer vanners. We're gonna keep doing this, but for months at a time rather than full time. So some of the people, majority of the people, are younger couples that are saving money for a house. So they got the van, they're doing the van life, and they're doing that for X amount of time, and then they're gonna buy their house. So it does save money, absolutely.
Okay.
That's a really cool.
That's a smart strategy.
That's a really smart thing to do.
Yeah,
Kinda,
pay off debt too.
Yeah.
Yeah, you pay off debt. That's a lot of it, paying off bills and
we kind
debt.
of fucked ourselves by having so many animals. But.
Yeah.
And you see that too. You see animals on the road in the van life, or the bus life. You see a lot of that where they convert a giant school bus and it'll be like a family in there.
dope.
Yeah.
That was cool. You see a lot of those, and they have like a full-on like deck on top where you can drink beers and stuff.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so I mean,
Oh,
there's
that's
so many
amazing.
cool designs out there, and you see some, and you get ideas like, oh fuck, I didn't even think about that.
I've also seen the tiny houses.
Yeah, the tiny house movement. Yeah.
Yeah, those are pretty cool too, but not quite the same thing.
Yeah, that's one of the big things I wanted to ask you about. Is that's why I brought up the documentaries earlier. Is I want to know if the minimalism was any sort of influence on you.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, that documentary Minimalism.
Yeah, just anything about it. I know it's something we both love it, and we both talk about a lot, like just getting rid of things, like excess, and trying to not have as much excess. And I want to know how much they influence.
Yeah, that influenced me a lot. Actually, I've seen that documentary like 3 or 4 times. If someone hasn't seen it, I'll sit down and watch it with them. Like, we're gonna watch this right now. You need to see this.
Yeah.
And so, like the 3 months leading up to this, I was, you've been in my home before, and I had a 2,000 square foot home with just shit. things. Just, you have to have an area rug. Just things, things. So those 3 months was just decluttering. Just OfferUp was my best friend. Craigslist, just selling things.
Probably made a lot of money doing that, huh? Getting rid of things.
Yeah, and that helped part of the build. Like I had some nice couches, and I had like things that I just didn't need anymore, and it felt nice. It like once my house was like empty, I was like, oh, this feels kind of good,
Yeah.
And then living in the road in such a small space, like what I have in that van, I could live off of now. It's like, oh, you don't need a lot of things. Like you just need the bare minimums and to be happy. Because for me, it was always I have to clean the house, I have to do yard work, I have to do this, there's all this maintenance that involves into it. So eliminating all that gives me time to like just do things that I wanted to do.
Sometimes by owning things, you have to own other things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you have if you have an area rug, you have to get a vacuum because you need to clean that area rug. And then you need time to clean that
owns your
rug.
time. Yeah, exactly.
So it's accumulating.
And the thing that happens, and we're all victim to it. Like I just got a new car, so I'm no better. But like we think that the new thing is gonna make us happy, and then we get that thing and it doesn't work, or we get over it, and like my car's dirty. I've had it for like 3 months and I'm fucking not washing it.
Yeah.
And
it's
like
called the hedonist cycle.
it's the hedonic treadmill.
Hedonic treadmill. That's what it is.
Yeah. So it's just like you think, and it's conditional happiness, right? You think that something else is going to make you happy as opposed to you actually making yourself happy.
Right.
You know what I mean? When you're like, oh, well, I'll get this and I'll be happy. I'll be in a better mood when I get this, and it just doesn't work that way.
It's interesting. The auto industry will actually market cars to people who've already purchased the cars. The main reason is to make them feel good. Like, oh, you bought this car, you're part of this club, so that they can keep that cycle going longer. So literally, people are like, oh, we know you're going to be unsatisfied in 6 months. So we're going to advertise to you that you made a good decision.
Yeah, it's like genius. It's fucking. It is. It's. I mean, it's a little slimy, but I think it's like when I see like companies taking advantage of things that are like unproductive. I'm like, well, dude, I can take advantage of it, dude. Like it's on these people to realize that this is not, it's not what they should be doing. I probably do the same shit. You know what I mean? Like you can like market. That's what somebody buys a car and then you start sending them shit. Be like, oh, you can trade in your car for this new one, and then we got you locked in for an extra fucking 2 years because you got to sign a new lease or a new loan or whatever.
Yeah, and then you're constantly making payment. And the cool thing too, if people are worried about money on the van life, if you get the van, it's sold as a commercial vehicle first because it's probably used as business, and then you could transfer it over into RV. And now RV gives you a whole new list of cool things that you could do. So if you want a 20-year fix, like a mortgage house on a payment on a van, you could do that if you make it into an RV. Because now it's an RV, it's considered a home.
Wow.
Yeah, so I didn't have the time to make the conversion over before we left. I'm in the process, I'm gonna do it now because I took it to AAA to do it and it was like half built. They're like, bro, this is not a home. Like they're worried about it as a commercial because you're gonna make money off of it as a business. Yeah. But you can convert it, and once you convert it, you can have lower payments, longer time frames to pay it off. You can carry weapons in it because it's considered a home. You can carry alcohol in it because it's considered a home. So it's the laws of a home. Rather than a vehicle.
So on the van right now, you're making payments towards the van. Like you didn't buy it all up.
No, we paid most of it off. Okay. We probably have like we have a few more payments left. Okay. Yeah, for the most part, we try to pay it off.
That just makes it a little bit more feasible, though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then you probably need a warrant for a police officer to go inside of it.
Exactly. Yeah, there's a whole process because it's considered an RV now.
Like someone trespasses.
I like it.
Interesting.
Yeah,
I didn't think about it like that.
Very cool.
It's actually reminding me of an episode on Breaking Bad where the DEA agent was trying to get inside, and he's like, "This is my domicile."
That's funny.
And the weird thing too, there's everyone. I know LA gets a bad rap for bad drivers. That's bullshit. It's bad drivers everywhere. I mean, that's one thing I encountered. So our van got almost 500 miles on a full tank. Like we got good gas mileage on the diesel, but I was also going 55, 60 miles per hour. So either if the speed limit was 65, I'm going 65 or maybe 5 miles under it. So I was going real slow. And I seen it all on the road. I mean, I got flipped off, I got cussed at, I got cut off, and you know, you get these angry drivers, and I'm driving this big rig, you know, and it's very top heavy. So when you turn, you could feel it. So it's like, then people, you know, just very rude drivers out there, and I was like, you know, it's just not LA. It's everywhere.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's
LA
everywhere.
just has more of them.
Yeah, maybe that's why it's just more people here.
Yeah, yeah. Well, fucking very cool. Do you want to do the closing questions?
Yeah, let's do the
All
closing
right.
questions.
I'm excited to hear your answers for these ones. So
Yeah.
let's start with the first one. So the first one we like to ask is if you could hop in a time machine and go forward and backwards in time, where would you go? What would you go see? And I'm sure you said you listened to some podcasts, so I'm sure you've heard some of the answers before.
For me, for sure, whenever the day the Pyramid of Giza was done. Whenever those pyramids were done, I want to go that day or the day that they celebrated the pyramid. Whatever time that frame that is, because you know we talked about Graham Hancock and his theories and who really built these pyramids. Like who really was it? Was it 6,000 years ago or is it Graham Hancock's theory 24,000 years ago?
Right.
And that tells a whole different story. So take me back then so I can see what the fuck was going on in this time frame. What humans were really here during these fucking pyramid building?
Yeah, that's a good one. I really find out like something that we don't have the answer to.
Yeah, we really don't have, because we have pyramids all throughout the world built in different times, but they're all structured the same, and everyone has a different theory of why they're here. But it's one of man's greatest mysteries are those damn pyramids.
Yeah.
It's funny that we don't talk about that more. Like,
No one
like,
talks
not-
about that
Not
shit.
like us, but just anybody. Like no, we don't. Yeah, like I forget about the pyramids is a good fucking answer. I'm like, what? Like I don't even.
Why
think
are they
about
here?
It.
Who
Yeah.
built these things? You know, and
Yeah.
they tell us to believe that you know the Egyptians built it, but I'm more of Graham Hancock's theory. Like the Egyptians moved into them, like they were already there.
What is Joe Rogan's joke? I built this.
Oh yeah, that's a great bit. Yeah.
That's a good one. I'm smart. We smart. We built this.
With their chicken scratch, let's roll horse with the moon.
What is a daily routine that you have that you're just like, this is the routine? Like, if anybody could implement this into your life, it's revolutionary. We've gotten vitamin water or salt and lime water. We've gotten take your calendar and put the whole year up on the wall so you can see it. We've got a huge variety of different methods: probiotics, plan your day beforehand.
So does that have to be nutrition or just something?
No. Anything.
Anything you do on a daily
that's, like,
basis.
you need. If you don't do this, you should definitely do this.
Make your bed in the morning.
Okay.
Straight up, make your bed in the morning. As
just
soon as
talking
you
about
get
that.
up, make your bed. Because you know
Wife
why?
is gonna be like, oh, do you see what he just said? Make your bed in the morning.
Yeah, there's a great book written by a Navy SEAL called "Make Your Bed in the Morning." I think it's what it's called. One of the books I read. But yeah, and I did this before, and it's just you accomplish something right off the bat. You know, like if your goal is certain day, like I made my bed, it's done. And when you go back into that room later on that evening, it's clean, it's organized. It kind of sets the mood on things. Like, oh, feel a little bit more relaxed, you know? And it just might be as simple as seeing your bed being made. But just doing that simple task, it takes, 3 or 4 minutes, you just do it, and it's like, cool, my day's gonna kick ass because I already got one task done.
Yeah, we were just talking about that yesterday.
Yeah.
It's really funny.
on you now. Now you're gonna have to start making your bed now, dude.
No, you know what? It's something I started doing that as well, and it just I get the concept behind it and everything, and it just doesn't do as much for me. Like, cause I never made my bed and it didn't really do anything for me. But it is really important for me to get up and do something, right? Like, it's very important for me to get up and not just leave the house, because I did that yesterday. I was like feeling super anxious all day, and like it just gets my day started in a rush, you know, instead of getting up and accomplishing something, starting your day with a win. You know?
Yeah, that's so true.
I was telling him and another guy last night that I actually kind of do the same thing, but I kind of hack it. Is I do bullet journal every day, and things that I already did that I'm just like I knew I needed to do, like answer this email or call this person, or something that I was going to do anyways. It's super simple and easy. I'll write it on my list and then cross it out immediately, because I'm like, no, I did it. It was something that I needed to do, and cross it off. So
It feels good to cross it off too, right?
It feels good to cross it off, but it's also good to see on paper that, like, if you just write out the things that you have to do, all blank, and then you don't see nothing crossed off, you're gonna see like, this is a huge list I've got to do. But if on top of that, you've already crossed out a few things, now you go, well, there's a portion of this list already taken care of, and only this much of this list is left.
And I'm a big opponent on that. I write, I mean, obviously I write, I mean, I'm constantly writing things down, and every day I have my week, my day, I'll write out my week, my month, and my year. And they're all, sometimes they're goals, but make sure I cross them off, make sure I cross them off, make sure I'm a big opponent on that.
Yeah, it's a big way. You should, I mean, we were talking about our notes on our phone is just like, notes, just fucking stupid thoughts. I'm like, I should write this down. What about this?
Or our bookmarks on Instagram. It's like bookmark.
Yeah. All these little tools. It's funny because like even the bookmarks is something I forget. Like these little tools, I'm like, why don't I use this more? Like the YouTube, like watch later and making like playlists. I'm like, God damn, this is fucking this. I love it.
Yeah.
So next one, I think this would be a pretty good one for you is. Do you have any supplements that you take daily that you really that kind of you stick by? And there's you can hack this because my supplement was training. So because I think that makes me feel better than any supplement really does. So
right. I think my go-to supplement would have to be fish oil. I mean, fish oil is I think an essential. I think I am a big thing on fish oil and protein, but not necessarily powdered protein. I always try to get the clean meats and do that nature.
Yeah.
But that's a good one. Yeah, working out like that's a good supplement.
it's I just know for me like it's not a supplement, but it's it's
but
just,
it kind
Hey,
of
I just hack things.
I just nothing, like really nothing makes me feel better than that. Like I think that's why I don't like supplements so much is because I can't feel the difference as much as I can when I actually work out. I'm like I have to like it's like when you microdose mushrooms. You kind of have to like look like. Is it? Am I feeling it? You know, like, you kind of have to look for it. So,
and it could be a placebo. Yeah, I feel it. Yeah, I do feel it. You know, it's just placebo. Ain't nothing happening.
Yeah, that's.
But then what's placebo? Maybe it is.
Well, I mean, fucking for the longest time, I was taking daily multivitamins until you told me. Until I looked into what you told me, I'm like, well, this is a fucking sham. You know, and I thought that it was the reason I was feeling better, but it just wasn't in my fucking head. You know.
No, nobody should be taking multivitamins.
Yeah.
The minerals, on the other hand, those are doing those is a good idea.
Yeah.
There's just so much shit in those.
Yeah.
Like sawdust in some of them. It's like,
It's
like what the?
When it's
I used to be a big pill popper back in the
sawdust.
day. You know, I used to take all kinds of stuff. Yeah, but not so much. Now I just try to get natural raw foods. I get it coming from the source. Why do I have to get it in a pill?
We just let food be that medicine.
Yeah, exactly.
And then I don't know if it's our final one, but biggest fear.
Biggest fear. To now or just biggest fear?
Just any like. What keeps you going? What keeps you doing? Like, cause you got it seemed like you got a lot of motivation, a lot of accountability.
Yeah.
What drives that?
Being happy, I think. Because I think working bullshit jobs and doing things that are wanted, being unhappy. It's like, okay, now that I know what happy feels like, okay, I got to keep doing that. Like, I want to keep doing that. There's a great John Lennon quote. I'll probably butcher it, but it's like he's like the teacher asked for an assignment. What do I want to be when I want to grow up? And he was like, I want to be happy. And she's like, no, you're misunderstanding the assignment. It's like, no, you're misunderstanding life or something like that.
That's exactly.
And that's
it's one of my favorites.
I love that quote. You know, it's like, yeah, most of us were like, oh, I got to get the big house. I got to get the big TV. I got to get all these things, but they're not really searching what genuinely makes them happy. And now that I truly felt what happiness is, it's like, okay, I don't want to lose that. Like, I got to keep doing this or whatever it is.
Love it. Love it.
That's good.
Love it. Well. Good. That's good, man.
I appreciate you coming on the show.
Dude, thank you for having me.
Yeah, this was awesome, man. It was really cool to see you. It's been a while since I've seen you on. So, like I said, man, you've always been a positive part of my life, man. And it's always great to see you. Everything we do always makes me. I always leave feeling better. So, I really appreciate you doing this with us, man. And if anybody wants to look you up and see, because I know you're gonna post some of the videos and stuff that you got. Where can they find you? Where's the best place?
I'm mostly active on Instagram. It's Matthew_Ledesma_.
Okay.
You can check that out. Last name's Ledesma.
Okay, we'll put that up on the show notes and everything. Cool, man.
Yeah.
Well, that's it.
That's it.
Thank you, man.
Thank you again.
See you guys later. Thanks for watching.